Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have our new Upton Town Manager, Derek Brindisi. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you.
And you came on board with us in August.
August 1st, thereabouts, yeah.
And you are, I believe you're from Worcester.
That's right.
You're from Worcester. And I also found out he's a grad of Clark and Worcester State.
In undergraduate at Worcester State.
And understood. That is fantastic. What did you major in at Clark?
I was a public administration major.
And at Worcester, what did you do there?
I was a health education, Bachelor of Science in Health Education.
And in the Air Force, you worked in the health department, right?
Yeah, so started out in public health as an enlisted, part of the enlisted force, and I was commissioned in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I currently serve at Pease, which is right outside of Portsmouth. Current rank is I'm a major.
Excellent. You have family, kids still, little ones?
No, they're no longer little. I have, my oldest son is going to be a junior at Worcester State University. My daughter is currently, she's a senior in high school, so she's looking at universities right now. And my youngest just hit his freshman year in high school. That's it.
Yeah, I think your oldest is probably, he's a senior at Worcester State?
He's going to be a junior.
He's going to be a junior. He's still the same age group as my own son. What's he majoring in?
So he wants to be a public health major. I don't know where he got that from, but...
Perhaps Dad, right? Does your daughter have any idea what she's going to do?
She's a social justice warrior, so I think she's going to do something in that field.
And the littlest one, the youngest, no idea yet probably?
He wants to be a football player for the University of Alabama. He doesn't know what he wants to do for a career, he just wants to play football for Alabama.
Well, he gets big bucks, right? Very good.
Yeah.
Well, now, coming here, you've come from, let's see, where did you come in from when you came to work here in Upton for us?
My last stop was Plymouth.
Plymouth, Mass.
That's right. I was the assistant town manager for 2 years for the town of Plymouth. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Worcester for 15 years, and in between Plymouth and Worcester, I had a very small stint as a town administrator out in Western Mass.
Out in Weston. Do you know Jordan Levy?
Very well.
Okay.
Yes.
I know that a few years back, Graft and I had interviewed him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's got a storied career from a small business owner to the mayor. Now he has his own talk show.
Yeah, I've listened to him for years. He lives not far from you. He's up on the west side too.
That's right.
Now, when you came to Upton, this is quite baptisms under fire, right? What were some of your visions for us?
So during the interview process, and although I was being interviewed, I was doing a lot of research on the town, really trying to understand some of the strengths and certainly some of the weaknesses, and then hearing some of the questions and concerns that were bubbling up through the interview process. And what I heard most often is people are worried about their taxes, that the tax rate continues to climb, their taxes, so the tax bill continues to climb. And so the question really was, how can you help? Like, what's your vision? How can you assist us in trying to mitigate the annual increase? And so when you look at the budget, that's really not the solution, because your budget, when you break it down, 50% of it or thereabouts comes from schools. And then you have a large portion that goes to public safety, so your fire, police, emergency management, and then a large portion that goes to public works. Then you have your fixed costs, and then you have a very small sliver that's everything else, small sliver. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself the question, so where are we going to cut? Yeah. You really can't cut schools, certainly don't want to cut your public safety force and your public works. They're really considered first responders these days. So your budget isn't always the best place to go when you think about reducing costs of municipal operations. So then you think, well, okay, how can I bring in additional revenues? And how can I bring in additional revenues? Grants are an opportunity, as you know. But really, in this community, it's trying to look at opportunities to expand your commercial tax base. So there's not such a heavy reliance on our residential taxpayers. And so I remember standing out front of Town Hall with Selectman Matalian 2 weeks before I started.
Mm.
And he was just getting to know me. I had already accepted the position, and he wanted to show me around town. And we walked up and down the Main Street area, and after about 40 minutes, he goes, "So what do you think?" I says, "What do I think? I think we've been hanging around right in front of the church for the past 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And all I see is cars driving through town, center of town, no one's stopping." And I said to him then, and I mean it today, is this area of town is a real opportunity to rethink what downtown should look like, what services or amenities could it offer. And so, ironically enough, in my first 5 months here, that conversation continues to get larger, and the snowball is getting much larger and larger. And so, we have an opportunity in front of us at town meeting this coming Tuesday to purchase that church, not to put a senior center or a library in there, but really to use that as the linchpin to redevelop this entire area that's down here. We have sat down recently with the Maloney family who owns that building. As the community knows, that building was originally expected to be purchased at $235,000. They were willing to come down and sell that property to the town for $187,000.
That's a big come down.
Yeah, it's a substantial drop.
That's fantastic.
And as important, there was a $35,000 set aside at Springtown meeting to do a feasibility study on what could we use that for. That feasibility study had never taken place. There were a lot of things that happened with procurement law that really prevented us from utilizing that money. So we still have money that was set aside for the purpose of that building. So on Tuesday night, we're really going to be asking those folks that show up at town meeting to appropriate an additional $152,000, which is much lower than the original $235 that we were originally going to go to town meeting for. So it's a really big opportunity. There are developers who I have had multiple conversations with, who want to engage in a public-private partnership with the town to reimagine what downtown could look like.
I love that word, reimagine, because, I mean, you can think, what would really be great here? Can you picture what you would like to see?
Well, I'm a new guy, so
That's okay.
I have ideas and thoughts, but to be honest with you, I think that there are amenities that folks here in town would really enjoy, like a restaurant, maybe a dental clinic, or a law firm, a medical clinic, a coffee shop. Those are realistic commercial and retail opportunities that I think, like you look at what happened in Hopkinton over by the 495 interchange, where they have a coffee shop and a pizza shop.
The big Price Chopper?
No, even beyond that. Beyond that. Yeah, no, they have a restaurant, they have a coffee shop, and they have...
the Starbucks is there,
the
right?
Starbucks is over there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a little small development, but it gets a lot of folks going through that area, stopping, and why that project is different than the project that I'm talking about here in Upton is because the town has already invested $7 million into the downtown area. We invested $7 million in town hall. So doesn't it sound great to bring people back to the downtown area to visit town hall for more than just paying your tax bill? But you're going across the street and you may be grabbing a coffee, maybe you're taking your wife and children out to dinner across the street, you got your library there, maybe there's something we can do with a community center in the area. So the whole goal is really to breathe new life into the downtown area, but at a way that really is not going to cost us anything other than some upfront money that we will recover once we sell the building and that property back to a developer.
Derek, would it include the library being redone?
So I am hopeful that we can work with the developer to come up with a cost-effective way to expand our municipal services. That would include libraries, senior center, maybe other services that would not impact the tax burden today.
Definitely, yeah.
So, but those those are premature because there's so many things that have to happen before that. But for me, it's all about how can we increase the level of services that we have today at little to zero new cost. So somewhat, I would say that, would you want a new library if it didn't cost you anything? I hope the answer is yes. And so those are things
I love libraries anyway.
Right, and so those
Yeah.
are the types of conversations that I
Yeah.
try to pull out of people when I talk to them.
You're so right about, I never really thought about it this way, but there's so many people that 140 is constant.
Mhm.
And what better way to bring in the money that we need so we can get some things done, right? Is people going by, they went, oh yeah, look at this Upton has, look at this over in Upton.
Right.
Very cool.
And it can be done in a way that makes Upton more attractive. I think Upton is already an attractive community, but we can always do better, and we don't have to give up our traditions that some folks are afraid of. So I'm really excited. When I pursued this job opportunity, it was because I thought that there was a lot of commercial opportunities here in town, or growth opportunities that I wanted to be a part of. I'll be honest with you, if the community of Upton just wanted somebody to come in here and manage the day-to-day stuff, make sure the fires were put out, that's not for me. That's not what I do. I've never done that in my career before.
Right.
But when I came here, I said, there's so many things that we could do that would really advance this community. And those are the kind of the challenges I was looking to do here in town. So.
Definitely. I like the way you think, the visionary part of it. Now, we're going to be meeting, the town meeting is next Tuesday night,
Mhm.
November
14.
14th. If you're watching here in Upton, people from out of town, out of state, out of the country, don't worry about it. But it's 7 o'clock at the Nipmuc High School,
That's right.
right up the
Mhm.
street. And what are the things we're going to be covering? This list what we're going to do.
The 3 Milford Street, the Holy Angels Church is the big one that I think most folks are talking about. There's a couple other items in there that I think folks should be interested in. We've had some issues with having ADA non-compliance at the Kiwanis Beach area.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 2 articles that will have some type of impact on that. One is to appropriate funds to fix that problem so we can reopen that parking lot. And then there's another one that I really love. It's creating a disability commission here in town. So we have a 5-member disability commission that can help all of the departments ensure that we're always in compliance with any ADA issues. So that's one article that's on town meeting as well that I think is a great thing. The Town Managers Review Act Committee, they had 4 recommendations. So we have an article that is proposing to amend the Town Managers Act based upon the committee's findings. There's some other items that we'll be looking to appropriate funds for.
Mm-hmm.
So as we all know, we have an $11 million transportation improvement project that is going to begin in 2019.
Tell us, what's that going to be now?
So the transportation improvement project, also known as TIP project, is funded by Mass DOT. It's about $11 million project. It's going to create new sidewalks, better drainage, repaving the street all from Hartford Ave North to Hopkinton Street. So that stretch of road, that is going to commence in 2019.
We certainly can use it.
Absolutely. Can you picture us having bicycle lanes and sidewalks along that large stretch of road, putting a intersection and a stoplight at the intersection of Westboro Road across from the pond.
Yes.
Which is, as we all know, is a major transportation problem.
It's tricky
each and every day.
trying to get past that thing.
So that's going to be reconstructed as well. So you'll have a light there, so the traffic will flow better.
Yeah.
So that's funded mostly through the state transit TIP program, but there are some items that the town has to take care of, and so we're asking for about $180,000 so that we could purchase the easements, both temporary and permanent easements, for that project. So it's a small investment, probably in the end, the investment to ensure the TIP project goes off is probably about $500,000 in total. There's going to be a water main replacement that's separate from the TIP project, and that's going to take place this coming summer. So we have a new water main, that'll be underneath the brand new street in 2 years from now.
That's going to be quite an undertaking, and that's a definite, right? That's going to
That's
happen.
definitely going to happen, yep. The state's already appropriated the funds.
We're talking with Derek Brindisi, and he is our new town manager here in Upton. And Derek, if somebody has some questions and would like to talk with you, how would they reach you?
The best way to reach me is because it's always tied to my hip. Certainly you could call the office, but I would ask folks to email me directly. And my email address is very simple. It's D, as in Derek, my last name Brindisi, BRINDISI, at uptonma.gov. So uptonma is all one word, .gov. So I always have my phone. My wife, sometimes that upsets her that I always have my phone, but if somebody sends me an email, has a question, shoot me an email, I can respond to you at any time of day, during the week or on weekends. Town meeting is happening this Tuesday, and I sent out a little social media tweet this morning and said, if anybody has a question regarding the warrant, something you're interested in, something you're confused about, let me know. I'll be more than happy to call you, meet with you, because it's better to answer those questions in advance of town meeting, because sometimes the misinformation takes over the conversation at town meeting. So I have no problems talking to folks in advance of town meeting.
Derek, wait till you see our town meeting. It's well attended. I think it's very well attended. I mean, we do a good job filling some seats at that high school.
Well, I have to say, I attended your town meeting, our town meeting now, in May.
In May, yeah.
I was there
You were
because,
there.
again, I attended, although I wasn't a part of the town at the time, I wanted to see how town meeting was.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, I was doing my homework on the town before I jumped feet first into it. So I attended the meeting. Yeah, it was well attended. A few hundred people, it seemed like, were in attendance. They stuck me on the right side up in the bullpen over there because I wasn't a resident.
Oh, no, I didn't see. Okay. What I love too is, they've got the microphone there, and then you see people starting to light up, and you think, oh,
Right.
here it comes. Everybody's got a different opinion. Oh, to me, that's a lot of fun.
Right.
I mean, I'm not into conflict, but I do love to hear other people's opinions on things.
Yeah, and as long as they have the right information,
Yeah.
that's what democracy is all about. Sometimes with social media, though, so one person says one thing that only has half the information, and then everyone else is feeding that misinformation, and then they go to town meeting, and it's like, well, geez, if you asked a question, I could have helped you out, so you have the right information.
So you got it. Now, besides what we just talked about, what other things would you like to, or are going to be talked about at the town meeting? Because usually, sometimes it can last a long time.
Right, yeah, I think for the most part, it's a fairly straightforward town meeting. The fire department is looking to purchase a new air compressor for all their bottles, so that's a $28,000 acquisition. I would say there is another controversial article that's out there. The town clerk, we have looked at her current role in the organization and have increased her responsibilities. And with increased responsibilities and increased hours, there comes increased pay. And so there is an article there that we're expanding the town clerk's role from 35 hours a week to 40 hours a week. So that's an extra 5 hours a week. That's 250 hours annually. So what folks need to know, what we're proposing is an 8.5% increase to the town clerk's position. But new responsibilities, new hours, a lot of work involved in that. And so what that does for me is it allows, if I can lean on folks like Kelly McKellar to help with some of the IT functions, some of the building maintenance functions, then that frees me up to do economic development. We don't have an economic development director, and we're not going to get one, and I'm fine with that. But if I can lean on the town clerk to assist with some other functions like information technology and maintenance, then I can focus working with developers, expand the tax base so that we can again help slow that tax growth.
I received the email about increasing the salary for our town clerk. You go for it. I think she deserves it. I think it's wonderful, and anybody who's going to work that many hours, and she's been with us and loyal for a long time.
That's right. She's been here about 16 years. One thing you can't replace is institutional knowledge, and her institutional knowledge is great. And so we need to recognize that. We want to, and folks need to understand that we want to keep folks like that in town. I came from a town that did not pay their folks well. Town of Plymouth was grossly underpaying their staff, and they had a high turnover. You can go on their town website at any given day, and they got 6 or 7 positions always trying to fill.
That had to be so hard for you to deal with that.
It's challenging from an administrative perspective because you're always retraining and you're retraining, and then after you retrain somebody, now they're fully qualified, and 2 years later they say, well, I can go make $10,000 next door, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah.
And the question is, why wouldn't you do it, right? So that's why if you take care of your people, they will appreciate that, and they'll work more than 40 hours a week for you. When I was in Worcester, we had a really good department, and I'd come back to the office at 7 o'clock at night, and there'd always be 3 or 4
They
people
still
working late, and they weren't getting paid overtime. But because they were committed to the organization, they were valued within the organization, and so we need to do that here in town. I think Upton does a good job for the most part here, but we can't stop short and say, well, 8% increase is too much, because 8% increase the return on investment is much more than 8%.
Definitely. We're talking with Derek Brindisi, and he is our town manager, our new manager right here in Upton. Derek, I have a question about, if we did buy the church, the former Holy Angels Church, where would I've had people come up to me and say they're wondering, how would the parking situation work out?
So parking is a big question that always comes up. So when we talk about purchasing the Holy Angels Church, that is the first link along this chain. Certainly we need to purchase the rest of the land that's associated with Holy Angels. But once we acquire that, and whether it's the town acquires it or the developer acquires it, the bottom line is we need that public-private partnership. And so we can work out those details. But once we acquire all that land, then we'll look at the space and say, okay, what can we realistically put on these parcels of land for building structures, and where will the parking go? Those are small parcels of land, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But we have other lots that are adjacent to it. My plan is if we get approval at town meeting, to start engaging our state delegation, showing them what the vision is, and asking for various support, like through MassWorks grants, which are infrastructure grants, because we can easily erect some type of walking bridge from the municipal parking lot over to the property that we're referring to.
Sure.
And then a walking bridge on the complete opposite side where the brook runs through, for the land that's on the other side there to have parking as well. So I think we have plenty of parking space, but that's going to be dictated. We got to work with Conservation Commission because we're so close to the brook. We have to work with the Army Corps of Engineers because we're in the floodplain there. So we know there are some challenges we have to get through, but from my early indications in those conversations, those are all challenges that we could overcome.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I'm wondering if we do get this through, with the places like our stores, like the Nevermind shop and the beauty parlor and all that, that land would be part of this whole new package?
That land would all be part of it, right?
And they would be able to have shops in there themselves?
They'd have brand new space if they chose.
Okay.
They could lease up one of those retail spaces if that'd be entirely up to them. That'd be their business decision. But absolutely, yeah. And I've talked to some folks in town saying that, well, it's tough to lease out space for office suites, like attorneys or whatever. And my first question I asked these people, I said, but do they have the latest technology in these buildings? Because that's what folks want.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to walk into a building that's 80 years old that doesn't have data drops and all those other things. So, and that's something that I dealt with when I was town administrator. I was working in a community that didn't have any internet.
That was Plymouth, right?
No, this was a small community out in Weston, Mass.
In Weston is a pretty well off.
Out in the Berkshires.
Oh, Western Mass.
Yeah.
I grew up in Wilbraham. Where were you?
I was in Ashfield. So Wilbraham, yeah, this is way up by the Berkshires, past Greenfield.
Yeah. Beautiful
Community, rolling hills, farmland, but they had their limitations were technology limitations. So when we think about creating new space in the downtown areas, technology obviously has to be a part of it,
Sure.
which we don't have right now in
Yeah.
some of these spaces. So those are things that make businesses want to come here. They become more attractive.
And what it is, it's great because the goal is to maybe take off a lot of this tax monkey on the backs of people of us who live here
Right,
and bringing businesses in, right?
right. Yeah, no, absolutely, right, to bring the business in, because they will help. But, so they're gonna, you think about it, all the pros. You use space that is being underutilized.
Mhm.
You bring new life into the downtown area that has character. You help mitigate your taxes, and you bring in services and new amenities that folks don't have to travel 2 towns over to receive.
Exactly.
You know, so I hope people find value in that, and quite frankly, my personal opinion, and you'll see the spin-off from that. There'll be others that will want to invest.
Mhm.
And, you know, I have a lot of Worcester experience because I had worked there so long, but if you're familiar with Worcester downtown was dead.
Oh, I
At
remember, yeah.
4:30,
Huh.
maybe 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
streets were rolled up, everyone went home.
Yeah.
And they created a lot of public-private partnerships over the last 10 years, and if you go to downtown Worcester now, they've done a really good job, because once you make that initial investment, everybody else sees the value in that initial investment, and they keep investing their own money.
Sure.
So a little bit of public money went a long way in Worcester,
Mhm.
and now it's all private money, because all those folks are starting to see the value in investing in downtown Worcester. And we have the same thing here. Certainly we're not as large as Worcester, obviously, but we have a core
Mhm.
that we could do a lot of work into.
And all the people, I mean, they come from, well, 140, that goes, I've taken that all the way up into, not Lancaster, but heading that way up to Clinton
Yeah.
or Shrewsbury, and it goes all the way, it goes a long way. So you're covering a lot of people going by.
Right, absolutely.
Derek, again, how can people reach you if they'd like to speak with you?
Again, not knowing the phone number off the top of my head, I would say email me at Brindisi, BRINDISI, at uptonma.gov.
And we're going to look forward to seeing you up on the stage on our Tuesday town meeting. Be there or be square, as the thing goes, 7 o'clock at the Nipmuc High School. Are you going to be speaking at all, do you think?
I plan to speak, but if I don't need to, that means we're having a good town meeting.
I think this is great. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy town meetings. I never used to go. I've lived in various towns. I never used to go. I moved to Upton and I went. I really enjoyed it. It's listening to the other people and I may not understand all the numbers and all that stuff, but it's watching what people are saying, listening to them.
And it's the purest form of democracy.
Yeah.
When you can participate and I say to people all the time, you set the direction of this town. I don't. I facilitate
Yep.
that direction. But at the end of the day, you make the decisions. You make the decision in May and you make the decision in November. And then it's my job to carry out those decisions in the 6 months in between. So folks that participate, they have a major impact on what's going to happen in this community.
Thank you so much for being with us. And
Thank you.
I'll be there Tuesday night for sure. We'll be watching. I hope we see a lot of people at the town meeting here in Upton on this coming Tuesday night, November 14th, 7 p.m. Thank you for being
Thank
with
you for
us,
having me.
Derek. And
Appreciate it.
welcome to Upton.
Thank you.
We'll see